Hello everyone, welcome back. I called the channel the Jungle Nook. My last video was a fish room tour where we added some new plants, fish, and some new decor. And we're going to do an update on those fish, but I also have some more new fish here I'm going to show you today as well. And I was recently asked for some advice on growing plants, your aquatic plants in your fish tanks and how to get them to do well. And if you really do need CO2 in order to get them to thrive. What is your definition of a thriving plant? If it is simply a plant that is healthy and is putting out new growth and is multiplying, no, you really don't need CO2 for that. But if you want really rapid growth of your aquatic plants, yes, CO2 probably for most of your plants would be required for extremely rapid growth. When I'm saying rapid growth, I mean you need to be in your tank every few weeks, trimming everything back because they're growing so fast. But if you're just trying to grow your plants so that they're healthy and they do reproduce and they're not just withering and dying away, you don't need CO2 necessarily injection. You don't got to supplement the CO2. But our aquatic plants require all of the same things as our terrestrial houseplants. Your aquatic plants, you'll have your stem plants, the plants that you must plant into the substrate, and they grow roots and get most of their nutrients through the roots. So you will need a nutrient-rich substrate. Aquatic soils work great. This tank here actually has topsoil. I purchased it. It was in a bag, something you would add to your outdoor garden. But I put about, I think maybe an inch of topsoil, and I capped it with about 2 inches of sand. And now I have very inexpensive, nutrient-rich substrate for the roots to grow in. But you could use aquatic soil, you could use root tabs, things like that. But your stem plants are going to require a proper substrate, the texture for the roots to grow through, and nutrients within that substrate. Other plants, they get their nutrients right through the water column and through their leaves primarily. Things like Java fern, Anubias, things like that. You're going to need nutrient-rich water. Same with like your floaters. They're going to need nutrient-rich water. And you don't necessarily have to dose your tanks for that. Driftwood is going to break down and release nutrients. Dead plant material will break down and release nutrients. Your fish waste, your uneaten food, that will become nutrients. Now those things can become a problem because the nutrient level gets too high and your water parameters may not be suitable for your fish. And if they're not getting too out of control, you might see just an algae bloom. But monitor your water. And you might need to do water changes so that your ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates aren't getting too high. But remember, those three things are actually nutrients. And as your plants are growing and getting larger and multiplying, you may notice you need to do less and less water changes. If you're seeing an algae bloom, that just means there's more nutrients than your live plants can absorb. And your algae is going to start to grow, which you can remove manually. And if you remove it manually, it's just going to grow back. But as your plants are growing and getting larger, there's going to be less nutrients for the algae, which is what happened in this tank. I used to have quite a bit of algae in this tank, but my algae is disappearing because the plants have grown. My plants grow because I meet their requirements, which is nutrients, light, temperature matters too, but in our fish tanks, the limiting factor really is CO2. Providing you have, good light, you're keeping them warm, and you got the nutrients for there. You really aren't going to be able to just put a gravel substrate in your tank and put some stem plants into that gravel and, expect them to grow. There's no nutrients in that for them, really. I don't gravel vac, and I actually add dead leaves to my from trees and stuff to my aquariums, because as they break down, the fish will eat that. There's other really tiny, even microscopic life forms that are eating those dead leaves. And that's all part of the food web, which provides natural, very healthy, nutritious food for our fish. But the food web actually is also contributing to the nutrients within your tank. If you don't want to spend the money on CO2 injection, which can be expensive, and air stone, although that adds oxygen to your water column, it also does add some CO2. Now, when you first turn your light on after it's been off, the CO2 level while the light's off has increased within the tank. You turn that light on, the plant has light and nutrients, and now it has, that CO2, it has everything it needs to engage in photosynthesis. But the CO2 level is going to just plummet really fast. It's going to drop very quickly. And the plants are no longer going to be engaging in photosynthesis because it doesn't have the CO2. And they're not going to be growing the entire time that the light is on. So you can add CO2. Another thing that you could do is you could have your lights set to turn on for a few hours and then turn off for several hours and then back on. And that will help to build up the CO2 level again within the tank, because while the light's off, they're not really engaging in photosynthesis, so that it's not being used, the CO2. So it is getting more concentrated, and when you turn that light on, the plants are going to engage in photosynthesis again. Something that I do, and this is to maximize the energy cost of my lights, is I will have them turn on for about 3 or 4 hours in the morning after the sun's already came on. My lights will turn on, and I know that the plant has the most CO2 that it's going to have for the day when those lights turn on. But it real rapidly uses up that CO2, and within 3 or 4 hours my lights will turn off. It is the middle of the day though, there's ambient light getting in the tank, so I'm not stressing my fish out by them turning on and off. But that light that's right over the tank, that will turn off for another 4 hours. And then when I'm getting home, they turn back on, and they'll stay on for like another 6 hours, because that's when I'm home with them and I want them lit up. But I'm maximizing how much photosynthesis is actually occurring while the light's on, and I'm paying for that, all these lights to be on. The light is important. You do want a good quality grow light for your plants. There are things like, Java moss, Java fern, things like that, that they really don't require that. You can get away a lot of times with just like an LED shop light, and that will be fine. But, your plants that do require a lot of light, you're going to need a good light for them that's properly spec'd out for your tank as far as how deep it is.
the farther that light goes through the water column, it is losing its intensity. So by my lights turning on and off like that, I am maximizing the amount of photosynthesis that is occurring in the tank due to that light that I am paying for every hour that it's on. If I didn't shut it off while I was at work for, you know, a good 4 or 5 hours, that light would be on and there'd be very little photosynthesis occurring. It's not a sufficient bang for my buck, in my opinion. Now, when you are injecting with CO2, those plants are going to be using so much nutrients. You know, you're going to have to start maybe supplementing your tank. Everybody I know that uses CO2, they all dose their tank, and I don't like having to dose my tank. I don't want to have to do it, for one thing, and I don't want the expense, so my plants do grow a little slower. The deep substrate, you know, using an aquatic soil, if you're not comfortable putting a topsoil in, which you do have to, when you put topsoil in, you do have to cap it with a few inches of sand. Otherwise your tank's just going to be a muddy mess. But that whole ecosystem now, that natural ecosystem that will be able to live in that natural substrate, I'm not sure how this happens. I've watched a few videos. I'm not comfortable explaining it, but deep substrate will actually also contribute to higher CO2 levels within your tank. So yes, CO2 will dramatically increase the overall growth rate and health of your plants, but only if you have adequate light and nutrients and you have them at the temperature that they like to be at. But without all those other things, the temperature, the lighting, and the nutrients, your plant's not going to engage in photosynthesis regardless if you have the CO2 or not. I'm not putting CO2 into my tanks because I don't want the expense, the extra maintenance of maintaining the CO2 system, or of trimming my plants all the time. These plants in here, most of them are put in here from tissue cultures, and over about a 2-year period, probably not even 2 years, probably a year, they all grew into what you're seeing now. My algae, I'm almost out of algae in this tank. Algae is a plant. You need plants to be part of your filtration, your natural filtration. And if you have too many nutrients, the algae is going to really take off until your other plants are large enough, or you add enough of them to outcompete the algae. Now I just got home from work. All I did was ran the magnet over the glass to knock the snails and stuff off, so hopefully my camera doesn't zoom in on them. This is the fish room. This is where we added most of the fish in that last video. And we're gonna start down here on the natural themed aquariums. These are my most natural themed aquariums down here. All the stuff in here has been collected from local ponds, streams, lakes, things like that. Now down in here, I have a school of some Danios that really do look like trout. And I had been monitoring this tank for quite a while because there's quite a bit of life, different types of life forms in this tank that got introduced from bringing plants and different things from outdoors inside. And I thought I was pretty good in this tank because I had not seen things like damselfly or dragonfly nymphs. Hadn't seen any leeches in a while in here. This was kind of an experiment, putting these fish in here to see how they did. And I was really surprised because not too long after I put these fish in here, quite a few leeches, as well as the dragonfly nymphs started coming out. I'm not sure. I am assuming that quite possibly they sensed these fish in here I'll show you in a minute some of them that I caught out. But I put 8 fish in here, and I still have 7. And the one that I lost, I actually found him on the ground in front of the tank. I forgot to close the lid, and that one had jumped out. And I've been really keeping an eye on these fish for the last week, and I haven't lost any to the dragonfly nymphs. I haven't seen any in here in probably about 6 or 7 days. And I think they came out because they sensed them. There were quite a few of them in here. I have some of them that I saved just to prove it to you. But I caught 2 leeches out of here and about a dozen dragonfly nymphs, which I did not see any in here for several days of looking in here. I put the fish in. Every half hour I would come in and I would catch 1 or 2 of them out of here. I looked them up too, and there were some other YouTubers that had problems with dragonfly nymphs, and the interesting thing is when you catch one, that is actually the spot you should look for more. And I caught all but 2 right from this spot in the tank, right up on the glass right here. And they don't move very fast, so they're easy to catch with a pair of tweezers. But almost all of them I caught right here. It was pretty crazy. That guy was right. Always look in the same spot because they have their place that they like to be, I guess. But I did catch a real big one on this piece of dragonstone, and a couple of them, like at least 1 for sure out of this tank I caught up in here. Usually they hide in they say they hide in the seaweed and things like that, but all of mine are right out in the open right here. Yeah, these guys look like brown trout. I really like that because the lake that I get most of my materials from for this aquarium, they stocked it with brown trout. So, and it's an experiment to see how my fish did in this type of ecosystem. So these are rainbow fish, and I also got some red cherry barbs in there too. I put some plants in this tank as well. They're all doing fine. Haven't lost any of them. One thing, I mean, it's fine, but you'll notice that my tanks don't have a large variety of fish. Most of my tanks usually only have, you know, they're species specific. I like how they look like that, but I have been adding more and more fish to my tanks. The cherry barbs usually were in a school, the red ones here, all by themselves, and I really like that. But they're very comfortable now with these rainbow fish, and they all just swim together. The plants are doing good. The plants that I bought were already being grown within an aquarium, so there was no melting or nothing. There's a clump of new plants right there. There's another type, I don't even know the names of them. And then I have this grass-like stuff right here. No melting. Everything seems to be doing fine. The fish seem to be happy. They're eating. I didn't lose any. I actually only lost 1 fish out of all the fish I picked up at that store. And again, that was because he jumped out of the tank, so that was totally my fault. And all the fish seem to be doing good in those natural themed aquariums. This is a Dwarf Gourami. It's a male. They did not have any females, but he was very shy for several days. I just turned the light on, spooked him. Last week when I was talking about these tanks, I told you how I was cleaning the glass with a razor blade. I did not clean that razor blade good enough. I always use a brand new razor blade that has an oil coating on it. I don't think I cleaned it enough, and these were my breeding tanks for my shrimp, and I lost all my shrimp, I thought, in all these tanks. But this tank actually does have a few of the red shrimp, and I'm not seeing them at the minute, but there are a few red shrimp in this tank.
and I had topped this tank off. All the tanks were topped off and I didn't put the lids on yet. I never had red shrimp really in this tank. I have seen a couple swimming around in here, but I'm thinking they just migrated from this tank over here. Shrimp do jump out of your tanks. Like I find shrimp on my floor all the time and around my tanks. I do want to get this one a female. When I do get a female, it will be getting moved either out to the 75-gallon tank with the female, or this is only a 10-gallon tank. If I don't move well, when it is a pair, if I don't move them out there, I may end up putting them down here. I may rescape this. This is a 20-gallon tank. Now I've had these fish for a while. I really do like these guys. Here's a good shot of them. Here's a better shot of this one. Not sure if these fish over here were from the first batch or the second batch that I picked up. They're guppies and they have spawn. I only seen a couple babies and they were really small. I'm not sure when I put these in, but all the new fish that have been added to my tanks were added within a 2-day period. These ones did already spawn. I seen a few of the babies. Are so tiny though. I'm hoping there's enough of this Java moss in here that, oh, there's a baby. I don't know if it'll show up. I don't know if it's going to show up or not. I'll stay right on it for a minute. Oh, there's 2 babies right there. Oh, I'm seeing more babies. There's babies in here. Yeah, there's the male right there. And I got 3 females in here. I've been getting live bearers so that, you know, they can reproduce, and I'll have bigger schools, and I like to have schools of various sizes of fish. And when I start getting more and more of them, here's some more babies. When I start getting more and more of them, I will be feeding these guys to my African leaf fish. Oh, there's another baby. See, there's babies in here. I'm seeing them swim around. I looked in here pretty good a few days ago, so either I just didn't happen to see all these babies, or one of the other females has spawned for me. So yeah, like I said, I want to get this guy a female eventually, but I did pick up another one, a different type. That one's right over here. Again, a male Dwarf Gourami, and eventually I'd like to get him a female too. He's really beautiful, isn't he? Look at the color on him, and there isn't even a female in here with him, and he's so bright. Took him a few days too, but he knows now. I'm the one who gives him the food. I'm happy because they seem happy.
Now I know these guys down here I got with the second batch. But again, I put these guys in here to see if they make it. All the new fish, they're only they've only been here for about a week and a half at the most. And I hope these guys reproduce as well. They should. My water parameters are really good for cichlids and live bearers. But I did find out that the fish store that I go to, I didn't even know this, but they do sell RO water. I believe it's $3 for 5 gallons. So I will be getting RO water to soften my water up a little bit now and again to promote breeding with some of my other fish as well. This is the dragonfly nymphs. There were a few of them. This isn't even all of them. But I wanted to show you. Like, I don't want to just tell you. I wanted to actually show you. But yeah, these guys can take out your fish. And these guys are still doing just fine. The babies are doing okay. The plants are doing fine. Everything's doing good. So I got some swordtails too I put in here. These are new fish. I definitely got these in the last batch. I got a male down there. There's 2 females in here too. Now, and there is a Dwarf Resborer. There's a school of Dwarf Resborers in here too. I don't know if it showed up. But I'm going to show this tank down here just because I was asked about it. This is my Moonscape tank. I should have put some food in here. But yeah, the Moonscape tank is doing just fine. The plants are doing fine. And there really are a lot of shrimp. But if I would have put some food where we could have seen them. But the orange shrimp are still in here and they're doing fine. I mean, there really are a bunch of them. I just would have had to have put some food out more towards the glass here so you could have seen them. I'm only looking through like a 1.5 inch screen, so I'm not sure if they're really showing up or not. But they really are still in here. The colony's not as big as it used to be because I haven't been feeding it as much. But they're still in here. If I want to get the colony bigger, I'll just add more food. But yeah, the Moonscape is definitely still doing fine. The reason I call it the Moonscape, you can't see now, but it was the round rocks. It was black lava rock. And it doesn't look quite as black no more, and it looked really good with the substrate. It's fluvostratum substrate with a little black blasting sand. Let's talk a little bit about the black blasting sand. I use black blasting sand, and I also use pool filter sand quite a bit in my scapes because of the price. But I will say the black blasting sand, it is abrasive to certain fish, especially your fish that stay at the bottom of the tank, like your cories. I have no cories. I lost all of them, and I do believe it was because of the black blasting sand. It took quite a while, but I did lose all of them. So be careful when using black blasting sand because of how abrasive it is. You know, especially on any fish that are bottom dwellers that rut through the substrate. You know, it's not good for them. It can cause injuries, and infections can get into them, and